Tonight, we are very excited to welcome Tammy DeSautel to share her beautiful witness story, Welcome to Holland. En route to Paris, France, her destination of her dreams, little did Tammy know that her captain's change in flight plan would change her life forever. Tonight, Tammy will share her family's inspiring story, appreciating the battles, barriers, and blessings, all gifts from God, raising their beautiful daughter, Macy, who just happens to have cerebral palsy. Please help me welcome Tammy DeSautel.
Hi. So Natalie made a good point when we went out to take a little break to try and make this all work, that it's a great analogy to kind of how our life flows. Because we plan, we tested, it worked, but things happen. And so you just move forward. So, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm often asked to describe the experience of raising a child with a disability, to try and help people who have not shared in this unique experience to understand and to imagine what it feels like. And I'm going to tell you a little story by Emily Pearl Kingsley that is a really great analogy. When you're going to have a baby, it's like planning a fabulous vacation trip to Italy. You buy a bunch of guidebooks and make your wonderful plans: the Colosseum, the Michelangelo, the gondolas of Venice. You may even learn some handy phrases in Italian. It's all very exciting. After months of eager anticipation, the day finally arrives. You pack your bags and off you go. Several hours later, the plane lands and the flight attendant comes in and says, "Welcome to Holland." Holland, you say? What do you mean Holland? I signed up for Italy. I was supposed to go to Italy. All I've ever dreamed of is going to Italy. But there's been a change in the flight plan. They've landed in Holland, and there you must stay. The important thing is that they haven't taken you to a horrible, disgusting, filthy place full of pestilence, famine, and disease. It's just a different place. So you must go out and buy new guidebooks, and you must learn a whole new language. And you will meet a whole new group of people that you've never ever met before. It's just a different place. It's slower paced than Italy, less flashy than Italy, but after you've been there for a while, you can catch your breath. You look around and you begin to notice that Holland has windmills, Holland has tulips, Holland even has Rembrandts. But everyone you know is busy coming and going from Italy, and they're all bragging about what a wonderful time they're having there. And for the rest of your life, you will say, "Yes, that's where we were supposed to go. That's what I had planned." And the pain of that will never, ever go away, because the loss of that dream is a very, very significant loss. But if you spend your life mourning the fact that you're not going to get to go to Italy, you will never be free to enjoy the very special, the very lovely things about Holland. I'm honored to be able to share our story tonight. I've been told by many people, many times, that God only gives special kids to special parents. Well, I honestly believe that God does not give special kids to special parents. He gives them to ordinary parents and walks with them every step of the way if we allow him. Because of Macy and her disability, she makes me and everyone around her a better person. And if any of you were given that same opportunity, you would be right up here as well, sharing your stories of grace. So Macy's trip to Holland started with a very traumatic delivery. I had a typical pregnancy. She was 1 day early, and the umbilical cord had broken from her placenta, and she lost a lot of blood. And she went just about 40 minutes with little or no oxygen. I went from having 2 people in our room to having 12 in a matter of seconds. And it was, I remember looking at her dad, my then husband Brad, and saying, "We did everything right. I don't understand what's happening here." But all we knew is that things weren't the way they were supposed to be. And Macy spent 5 weeks in the NICU. So when she went there, her organs were to the point of shutting down and her kidneys weren't working. And they said, "That's the first thing we need to think about." And I prayed. I said, "God, if you get those kidneys working, I swear I will never complain about changing a diaper." 31 years later, I have never complained about changing a brief. So when she was developing and her system started working, we were able to try and help her eat. She didn't want to take a bottle. We tried so many different techniques and different bottles. Finally, she started to, but she would spit it all up. And all the tests came back, and we knew that there was a brain injury, and we knew they were going to call it cerebral palsy, but we didn't know the level. And all we heard from the doctors, nurses, and therapists was, "We don't have a crystal ball," which to this day is not my favorite saying, because we heard it a lot. But that's okay, because we didn't need a crystal ball. We had the Lord, and we put our trust in God. After 5 weeks, we went home, and I'd like to say it was easy, but it was not. It was kind of rough. Not only were we first-time parents, but we were first-time parents of a baby that was really hard to console. Her nervous system was very tricky, and the only thing she really liked to do was to be held and to be rocked a lot. She wanted the constant stimulation. Didn't really care about sleeping for 5 years. And I remind her of that. She didn't like all the typical things that you think babies are going to like: going for walks, sleeping, and in her car seat, she didn't like that. So it was kind of rough, and we were so grateful to have our family nearby, because they helped us. They gave us breaks when we needed it, and also our community. It was, at the time, Macy and I lived in Hillsboro, and the small communities, they pulled together, and so we were grateful for that support. We often ask, why? Why is this happening? Like I said, we did everything right. We read all the books. We did all the things. But after a while, we're just, why wasn't going to change anything? And so we moved forward. And we had our first big celebration, which was her baptism. Father Bitts asked if he could baptize Macy. And for us, that was quite an honor. And he made it the day very special. Also, her baptismal gown was designed just for her. A friend of our family made the gown. And not too long ago, our goddaughter Bianca was baptized, like 5 years ago. And, Macy tells us yes or no with the turn of her head. And we decided to give Bianca's baptismal gown, or give Macy's baptismal gown to Bianca. And someday she'll be able to give it to her children and tell them the wonderful things about Macy. So we had to buy the new books, and we had to learn a whole new different world. And in 1993, when she was born, there was no internet. The way to find resources and support was word of mouth, lots of phone calls. Luckily, we had a social worker before we left the NICU who connected us with services in our area. So all of a sudden, we're learning about early intervention services. We learned about Easter seals. We learned that we are now going to become good friends and connected with DSPs, direct service professionals. We had to become experts in a little bit on every field, from healthcare to education to the state services. So there was a lot of research to be be done? And I asked lots of questions of anybody who came into our house. I was like, and the biggest one was, are there any other families that are like ours? We need to connect with other families. I mean, our family and our community was awesome, but they didn't really know what we were going through as far as her needs, and we wanted to talk to other families to share resources. Well, because I asked a lot of questions and talked a lot, I was asked to be on a family support committee for the state. And as a result of that, the parents all said the same thing I was saying. We need to be connected with other families. And I'm proud and honored to say that I was on the ground level of bringing Family Voices of North Dakota to our state. Deneen Feist, who is the director of Family Voices, and I went out to Vermont to shadow theirs, and we brought it to North Dakota, and it still is in existence today, running strong, and Deneen is still the director. I was on the board for many years, but kind of retired out as Macy has gotten older. I've also been asked by the governor. I was appointed to be on the Intervention Coordinating Council, and that is a council that focuses on services for kids birth to 3. Once Macy aged out of that, and through my employment at Job Service, I was appointed to be on the North Dakota State Council of Developmental Disabilities, representing Job Service, but I'm also blessed to be able to represent families like ours and people with disabilities. So that's pretty exciting. And I learned, I'm going to become an advocate. And I'm going to be Macy's voice. She just rolled her eyes at me. That's funny. As she was growing, we had early intervention services. That's what this is all about. And they came with charts, all sorts of growth measurement charts. Macy wasn't on any of them. She wasn't normal. We decided to call normal a cycle on our washing machine and make our own normal. Tony is one of our DSPs that's been a part of our family for years, and DSPs become our family. And I always tell them that when they first come to our home, that I am giving you my heart and soul. I am trusting you with my heart and soul. And they get it. And then Macy and I were, I don't know if any of you remember in the Wayback Machine when Easter Seals used to have a telethon, we got to be a part of that too. Well, as time went on, we also discovered natural medicine. And we have found a great combination between natural medicine and modern medicine. Macy, after we started with the natural medicine, she became more relaxed. She started to keep her food down better. And she just was able to have control of some of her actions. And so, we learned a lot through that process too. Well, moving forward, Macy started school. And her classmates were so awesome. And it wasn't a matter of how she's going to fit in. It's a matter of we are going to do this. It's not if, it's how. How are we going to make this happen? And actually, in her class, kids would argue about who would get to sit by her, who would get to help her, and they embraced her, and they embraced her unique abilities. And same thing with religious education. At that time, we were at St. Rose of Lima in Hillsboro, and when I talked to the religious education director, she was all on board. She's like, of course Macy's going to be with her classmates. She's a blessing. She's going to be with her classmates. And so we had an aide that was with her that was an older student from Hillsboro until, I don't know if any of you know who Sue Breen is, Pat Breen's mom. She was one of Macy's religious ed teachers and came in with her aide, said, I don't need you, I'm a nurse. So Macy was with Sue Breen in her class. And one of the class periods, one of her classmates told me a story that one time they were in class, and it was before class had started, and some of the students were teasing the student, and Macy started crying. And the students just stopped, and they said, whoa, we need to stop that because Macy understands that we're hurting her feelings. And they knew that Macy can understand everything that people say around her and to her. So very special class. So this didn't happen, her being such a natural fit in school and in our church, just by accident. There were many prayers, many meetings, many amazing community and family members who came together to make this happen for us. And, Macy has taught all of them the gift of inclusion and just to be what it's like to be included in your community and your school. So we made a plan and we took action. Well, when Macy was around 11, her dad and I separated and divorced. But again, God had amazing plans for us. And I'm so blessed that Monsignor Vetter was the priest at the time at St. Rose of Lima. And he was by my side every step of the way. He introduced me to BE, Beginning Experience, which he actually brought to North Dakota. And he helped me with the annulment process. And he's like, he didn't say this is what you should do. He said, this is what we're going to do. And with Monsignor Vetter, when he says you're going to. And so I was very grateful for that. Getting a divorce was not an easy decision. It was hard. And to be honest, I was perfectly content, and I thought Macy and I were going to be moving forward with just the two of us. But along comes Ross. So a little bit about Ross's story too. He was married to Sharon, and while they were married, they found out Sharon had cancer of the spine. As a result of her cancer, she used a wheelchair, and Ross was Sharon's caregiver. Ross and Sharon were married at the church in Bonanzaville by Father Sinner. When Sharon was diagnosed with cancer, Sharon went through the RCIA classes and finished her sacraments, and their marriage was blessed in the church. Ross and Sharon lived in Fargo when she was diagnosed. They moved back to Oregon when she passed away so that she could be with her family. Ross gave up his dream job in Fargo so she could be with her family at the end. Within 6 months, Ross lost his wife, his job, and he sold his home in Fargo. But God had a plan for Ross, too. He decided to move back to Fargo to be closer to his family. And his temporary jobs at the Air Guard, he was in the Air National Guard, ended, and Ross needed a new job. So Ross was also attending BE, and one of my coworkers happened to be in the same level as BE with Ross. And upon her recommendation, he came into the Fargo Job Service office to look for a job, and he got a lot more than a job. My mom told me, and I agree, that I worked at the worst place to meet men, but God had a plan. Ross and I became friends. When we met, we started talking in the office, and we realized we had a lot in common. I was also in the Army Guard, so we had military, but also the fact that he took such great care of Sharon, and we talked about Macy and her needs, and we just seemed to have so much in common. Well, eventually we started dating. My mom even asked, is he for real? Because he was just so hands-on and he was so compassionate. The first time he met my extended family, which I'm a Goldaddy, if you know the Goldaddies, there's a lot of us. It was at my cousin's college graduation, and my aunt, who happens to have 8 boys and we feel is kind of intuitive, introduced Ross to my cousins as my fiance. We had been dating for like a week, and so it was, and he stuck around, so that was awesome. While we were dating, Macy and I still lived in Hillsboro, and the transition for her from elementary to high school wasn't that great, and the services were getting harder and harder for us to get. So we made the decision that Macy and I should move to Fargo. It just made sense. My job was in Fargo. Ross and I were dating. We'd be closer to each other. And so Macy and I moved to Fargo. And 4.5 years of dating, Ross finally proposed, and we were married August 8th in 2008. You may have actually attended our wedding. We were married here during the Saturday evening Mass, and Monsignor Vetter and Father Irmer officiated our wedding, and it was just awesome. And so then, ta-da, we are officially a family. But we still, and together as a family, we still had some challenges. Macy still was having some struggles in some areas. She still wasn't keeping her food down. We were told she was burning more calories than she was gaining when she was eating. So we made the decision for her to get a feeding tube. And she also had scoliosis, and it was so severe that it was compacting her internal organs. And so we made the decision for her to get a spinal fusion from the base of her neck all the way down to her pelvic bone. And then her muscle tone was still pretty high. And when her tone kicks in, of course she's not comfortable, and it's just not easy for her to be in the right position. So we made the decision for her to get a baclofen pump. And these were all about a year apart. And so a lot of major things happening in our life during our first years of being together. The hardest part for us was, not only making these decisions, but when we're going through them, how to know how we could help her. Because that's, I feel, one of the things that I struggle with the most is when she's crying and when she's upset, we don't know why all the time. And so we're feeling all the places, we're trying to do all the digging we can to find out what's going on. But eventually we do enough, and of course, much prayer. We pray a lot. And finally we get it figured out. So finding services and making decisions on her behalf, that's something I know that we will always be doing. When she finished with high school, she was able to move on to day habilitation services through Easter Seals. And she was able to take part in activities in our community. She goes bowling. We tried hockey. So this is, I think Ross and Macy are going to go pro soon. This is bowling. Hockey, we tried it a couple times. She wasn't a fan. It was too cold. And I just want to point out, too, this is Macy with her two dads. And we're at a really good place, I think. So Brad will introduce Ross as Macy's other dad. And I just think that because of prayers and because of being holy, that, we've come to a good place. Sometimes the transitions aren't always easy. The milestones can hurt. So when she turned 18, we got invitations from colleges all over the United States. Well, that wasn't going to be our world. We even got a phone call wanting to talk to Macy about joining the military. Well, okay. So what we did instead was we turned what could have been a really hard time if we would have let it to having Macy Ray Day. And it was a community service event where we collected goodies to make bags for children who were at the Sanford Children's Hospital. And we made a fun day out of it. Her peers came, so people with disabilities, her friends, her family, and it was actually right out here in the social area. And we did that for a couple of years, and it was really a good feeling to get back to the community and have fun at the same time. We'll always be relying on others for Macy's care, and that's not always easy. We rely on the state for their programs. We rely on the agencies. We rely on finding good staff. And these days, some of those are not as easy. Some are easier than others. But we give it to God, and things have always worked out. Macy handles transition way better than I do. But I feel too that part of that is making the phone calls, doing all the research, and finding out what's going to be the best fit for Macy. And it kind of goes again to the beginning of this presentation. You can do all that, and then things can change in a heartbeat. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it turns out even better. So, and also that our home is open to many people, and we just have to get used to that. We have to be comfortable with that. We have DSPs coming in our home all the time, and that's okay, because they're there to take care of Macy. And we've kind of gotten over the fact that our house is never going to be company clean all the time, and our DSPs, they know that, and they're part of our family. So it's all good. Macy will always be a part of her community, and just to give you some examples, in church, we're on the welcoming committee. If you've gone to the Easter Vigil, you'll know that we take care of the wine table, and we like that job. And and she's good at it, and she hangs in there. She plays softball with the Fargo Parks. People ask, what does Macy do during the day? Well, Easter Seals doesn't let her get much dust under her wheelchair. They volunteer at the Homeward Animal Shelter, Hope Blooms, Goodwill, Meals on Wheels, Gigi's Playhouse. She goes to TNT Fitness, the library, the mall. They do things downtown. They go to the Ark. She's everywhere. And, Ross, Macy, and I will be out and about, and we have people coming up to us saying, hey, Macy. And I'm like, and how do you know Macy? And I love that. I love that. It's so awesome. And she likes to be she likes to go to concerts. We've gone to some big concerts together, and I'm a big concert buff, so, sometimes it's fun to share with her some of the things that I really enjoy too. She's inspired some of her caregivers into their future fields. Some of her DSPs have gone on to be special education teachers, nurses, OTs, PTs. She's inspired many, many people just by being Macy. So, I can't forget this. So I put something on social media a while ago, knowing that I was going to be giving this talk, saying, how has Macy touched your life? What has Macy meant to you? And I want to share some of the responses that were given. The first one, Macy needs what we all need, including caregiving, education, healthcare, transportation, unrestricted access, recreation, social connection, and love and advocacy of family. Another one says, communication doesn't have to include talking. Also, absolutely love her eye rolls. A next one says, the importance of accessibility to be able to engage in your community, to be able to do fun things. If you can't get to them, into them, and around them, everyone should get to do the fun things. One of our church members said, pure love. That's from my mom. She used to watch the two of you in church and said you epitomized what pure love looks like. And to be clear, she said it in her church whisper, which meant everyone around us heard it. So others can surely account for this. And then another one says, our voices are rich, revealing, and unique. And how we express them is as unique as our fingerprint. Macy also teaches perseverance through life's winding and often inaccessible roads. We're often asked, how does Macy communicate? And if you've been around Macy, you know she communicates with her expressions. She'll look left for yes, right for no sometimes. It's kind of hit and miss, but she can roll her eyes like nobody's business. She'll smile, and we know the differences of her cries. Now she's bored because she's yawning. So but she's very expressive, and that's how we know. So, and I also know, people ask, what's your future going to be like? And we don't always know. And again, we make plans, but when you make plans, they change. That's like all of us. And so we know that she will be in our home with us for as long as Ross and I are physically able to care for her. When that day comes when we're not, then all three of us are going to go into assisted living together and have our own little suite. So that's the plan. So, yep. So there. This is a picture of my friend was running her 100th marathon in Fargo, and we were cheering her on. And when she graduated, she got to be a part of the graduating class here at St. Anthony's, and of course, our bowling. So, I'd like to play a song for you called "She's With Me." Colin Ray is a country singer, and he had a granddaughter who had significant health issues, and he wrote this song about her. And again, it just hits home. It's always been a special song for us. So I'd like to play that for you, and I'll show you some more pictures as well. Okay, of course it's not working. Wait, here.
She's with me. I proudly tell the maitre d' as we arrive. He seems surprised in a clumsy moment as he looks for room for her blessed chair. A table stairs, and their eyes show only pity as they try to sympathize. Oh, how difficult that must be. Look away, day after day. They'll never see the joy in me. I'm only happy at the times I know that she's with me. I wear it like a badge of honor at the mall. I hear her call, the only way that she is able with a cry. Time would go bye-bye. She can't say why. Maybe tired, maybe hurting. God, I wish that I could tell. Do I ever make her happy for a while? To see her smile, it makes my week. Though she can't speak, she lets me know she feels my love when she's with me. I know just what heaven looks like when I see that perfect face. For no other mortal heart could be so fair. I myself so weak and weary, so imperfect as a man. How could I be the one you chose to care for our girl? I've never done a single deed to earn the right to share her light. Though it's such a painful road we walk each day, Lord, you have your ways. For this I pray. On the day I stand before you, she'll stand right by my side. When you look upon me, head hung down in shame, I'll feel the blame. She'll look at me, and then she'll speak in that precious voice. Don't worry about him, my Lord, 'cause you see, he's with me.